What's up, Block fam? Welcome to today's episode. We are here in the Blockhead garage, and sitting in front of me is a Harley-Davidson Fat Boy newer Softails with a Milwaukee 8 in it. So in today's episode, we are going to fully walk you guys through what a Stage 1 is on a Harley-Davidson. We get a lot of questions about this from users in the comment section asking, what is a Stage 1, what is a Stage 2, what is a Stage 3, and what is a Stage 4? So we're going to have a series basically going over every single one of those and showing you guys what they are. Joining me here in the garage, we've got Chris, Sick Wide Glide, 25-year master level technician. You guys be sure to do me a favor, go comment on his Instagram at Sick Wide Glide. Let him know how cool he is. He wears these fancy little cool hats that help to give the bike more horsepower. It's one of his horsepower-based secrets. He's going to be walking us through the install. I'm going to be asking questions as he's doing it, just so that we all have a better knowledge. I've done a lot of Stage 1 installs, and it's a relatively easy process, but we just thought it'd be beneficial for those of you out there that might be curious about what it is to walk you through it. I don't know what the percentage of airflow through this filter is, but I do know the percentage of you guys that aren't subscribed that are watching this is about 60 to 62%.
No, instead of guessing, let's insert the real f***ing number.
All right, let me look it up. Hold on. So 56.4 of you guys are not subscribed.
It's improving.
It is improving.
Yay.
All right. Good job on hitting that subscribe button.
That.
If you guys aren't subscribed yet and you're watching this content, do me a favor and
hit that
click that yeah, hit the subscribe if you guys want to see more.
Hit that is probably the wrong thing to say in today's world, but you know what I'm saying. I'm talking about a little computer.
Click the subscribe button. Hit the bell icon also so it sends you notifications of future uploads and activity. And if this video is helpful to you guys, do us a favor also and hit that like button. Helps us out a lot with the YouTube algorithm and all that stuff. And drop a comment too. It's a lot to ask, I know, but it helps us quite a bit. Back on topic here to the Stage 1. So basically a Stage 1 is 3 components on a Harley-Davidson.
Typically it's going to be your air cleaner, your exhaust, and a tune of some kind.
Correct.
Which isn't exactly necessarily a hard part. That is a software part, but
right. Stage 1, basically, you're replacing the air cleaner for a higher flow air cleaner. For those of you that come from the car world, there was some confusion whenever I started getting into motorcycles. In the car world, they call them CAIs or cold air intakes. In the Harley world, they call them air cleaners, which is, I don't know why. It's the same thing, essentially.
Because in a car, your throttle body or your air cleaner sits directly on top of your engine. Cold air intake usually refers to the fact that you have a plenum that runs down to the front side of the vehicle, though let's be honest, the air is only the ambient air temperature from outside, but it is considerably colder than hot air sitting on top of a hot engine.
Right.
Whereas a Harley-Davidson, being that it's air cooled, you don't really call it a cold air intake because it's right here. There's nowhere to get anything colder.
Gotcha.
So
makes sense. Cool.
Disclaimer, this is considered a high flow air cleaner. It's exposed. If you run your camera over here, there is nothing covering this. There is no plastic air box. Whereas those of you that have baggers and or older twin cam or earlier Milwaukee 8 air cleaners, you have something like this. For the most part, a sealed box. You got your opening there, your screened mesh, but you have a small air filter. The surface area is what you're actually measuring, right? So this doesn't have a whole lot more surface area than this. Even though that looks more exposed and looks really cool, it doesn't bring in much more air than one of these does. Now when you go to something like this, what you're going to do is you're going to measure the actual exposed filter space versus how much air can come in to determine whether it's true high flow or not.
So you do have all sorts of different high flow air cleaners. This one is just like one of the round ones. It's an offering from Trask. They do have red on the filters, and that is actually the oil that they spray on there to help to collect dust, particulates, dirt, all that stuff. That red does actually go away. A lot of people think that's the color of the filter. It's actually the color of the oil on the filter. I'm sure we've got an example of one somewhere around here that doesn't. Well, that one. It was all grayed out, so there was
white. So this one, it's an oilless filter.
Yep.
So is this one.
There's a whole route that we could go down regarding the different types of high flow air cleaners, because there's an absolute ton of options out there for you guys. The customer basically ended up going with Trask components. So we've got the Trask air cleaner and the Trask exhaust 2-to-1. There are other companies that make, you know, very similar air cleaners. This one has a clear front so you can actually see the throttle body through it. So that's basically like, you know, one part of a stage one. The second part of a stage one is the tune. There's a bunch of different options out there for software. We prefer to go with Dynojet. So we've got Dynojet. We see the best results from Dynojet. If you guys are just doing a stage one, there are tuners out there that have like canned maps. You can get canned maps from companies as well, such as Fuel Moto. You can go with Screaming Eagle tuners, Power Vision.
Your canned map, layman terms, it tells the engine that it's going to bring in more air, and we need to add a little more fuel to that air.
Correct
our air-fuel ratio.
Right.
Correct. So if you think of an engine as an air pump, the faster we put the air in and the faster we get it out, the faster it can move. Think of it as an air pump. We obviously have to mix fuel with that, but in essence, that's what we're after. The faster we get it in and the faster we get it out means the more power we can build.
There are, like from the factory, there are all types of restrictions to air going in and getting out of the engine or the air pump.
Thank you, EPA.
Yeah. So you've got the air filter, you've got the throttle body, you've got the manifold, then you've got the heads, and then you've got the actual cylinders, and then you've got the valves, the springs with the valves.
Oh my God,
like there's so much, and we will get into all of these through these episodes. We're trying to be thorough, but like not so thorough to bore you guys, but we will be touching base on all those in the next couple episodes as well, explaining what, you know, a stage
grows will explain why, how, and what we're doing.
Exactly. The second part of that process, like I was saying, is the tuner. Lots of tuner options, and as I was saying, we go with Dynojet because we see the best results. Also to note, a canned map is a map that's just kind of like a basic layover. It gives your bike a set of parameters to operate in, but it's not necessarily the best map for your motorcycle. A thing that changes how the engine runs a lot is actually an exhaust based on the design of the header pipes. Whenever I say the header pipes, that means the pipes that are coming right out of the heads. So here to here, usually.
Bagger, you have a catalytic header, meaning that traps a lot of air. It slows it down. So the amount of air in that exhaust at any particular given time will be different than if you were to change that and run a non-catalytic header. Same with the muffler. The muffler is built to restrict not only noise, but airflow.
Yeah, you guys will see these are, while they look large, the inner diameter of these things, incredibly small. There's a lot of baffling in here. So this is a very restrictive muffler, and this is a much less restrictive muffler. I mean, there's just, it's readily apparent right there. So this is gonna flow a lot more air out the back. So we're getting more air in, adding more fuel, pumping more air through it, and then we need more air out. But that's a balance too. You don't want something that's just gonna dump air out, because you do need back pressure. So if we were to take the pipes off entirely, you guys will see that you can look where the valve would be. And so if we were to take,
kind of see the tulip on the valve.
Yeah.
If it's closed, you'll see it, and if it's open, you'll
Yeah.
see the stem.
so whenever we take that off, we'll be sure to show you guys. But if there is no pipe on there, basically what happens is atmospheric pressure is able to actually work its way back into the engine.
The engine breathes. Every time the piston comes down, it creates negative pressure. Every time it goes up, it's positive. So each time it goes down, it's like you breathing in. And when you push up, you're in exhaling. So if you were to breathe in cold air, but when you're talking very hot, upwards of 400 to 500 degrees, and you combine that with 80-degree ambient air temperature, that is considerably colder.
Yeah.
And that valve goes, oh, and it gets real brittle. And it can stick, it can crack. There's a lot of things that can happen.
There's a lot of science that goes behind valves. That's why they make all sorts of different kinds of valves as well. Titanium being like one of the higher end ones.
Size,
Yep.
shape of the port, shape of the valve head.
It's a ton of science that goes into this stuff that like we could really get in depth about, but like we were saying, we're not trying to bore you guys, so we're just kind of lightly touching on all this stuff. The exhaust does matter, intake matters. If you put some thought into it, you can actually get some decent horsepower out of it. And then bang for your buck in terms of like for power, with a stage one, you're usually gonna see, what's the percentage increase in power?
10 to 15, yeah.
So
It's not a guarantee.
No.
It all depends on the intake and the exhaust that you pick. But that is the rolling number.
Kind of the standard. Yeah.
Right.
So in terms of bang for your buck, it's probably going to be one of those modifications that you can do that is going to give you a decent amount of power. And then also what the people like a lot out of a Stage 1 is the fact that we're changing the exhaust, and that gives you that Harley sound. A lot of people refer to a Stage 1 as paying the Harley tax. That's not an actual tax that you have to pay to Harley-Davidson. It's a joke, and it's basically saying that you have to pay this tax for a Stage 1 to make it sound like a Harley-Davidson sound, or should sound, or like what people are used to them sounding like, you know, that.
Harleys are known for their sound because of their design of the flywheel.
All right, so I think that pretty much explains like what a Stage 1 is, and now we're just going to go ahead and show you guys installing it. It's not a how-to video. If you guys are looking up specific how-to stuff, I do have videos on how to do the air cleaner, how to do the exhaust. If you guys aren't comfortable doing any of this, obviously don't want people doing something that's they're uncomfortable with, because that does lead to potentially breaking. We recently had a customer bring in his air cleaner because he used the wrong screw on it and ended up breaking his throttle body, so we had to find a new throttle body, replace that. So proceed cautiously if you're not comfortable with this. If you are not comfortable with this, this is a service that we offer here at the Blockhead Garage, and if you guys are interested in booking service, you can go to blockheadgarage.com, fill out the form, and one of us will be in touch with you shortly after. So without further ado, we'll let Chris Sick Wide Glide here do his magic. We're gonna follow along with him on the install, explaining little bits and pieces, and we'll hear what it sounds like. Oh yeah, should we just go ahead and start it so we can hear the before and after? And that is the sound of a stock Harley-Davidson. All right, cool, let's get to it.
We're gonna start here. We're gonna take the air cleaner off, air filter backing plate. Then we're gonna remove the exhaust pipes. Then we're gonna take off the bracketry that mounts the exhaust pipes. From that point forward, we will install their mounting bracket using supplied hardware. We will also then install their backing plate. Because he decided to go with an external breather rather than put the oil back into the throttle body and air cleaner assembly, that will get routed to the rear of the motorcycle and go into this little filter that we will probably mount back here near the fender, the mudguard for the rear fender. He also has this Checkmate top transmission cover that Trask sells. This we will mount, and we will also route this to the rear of the motorcycle.
So this isn't necessarily considered part of a Stage 1, it's just something additional that the customer is wanting. On the same bike, and this is the episode that you guys should probably watch after this, we are going to be installing a Stage 2. So the Stage 2 is like basically the cam and a tune, but the customer is also going to be upgrading the oil pump and the cam plate, push rods, tappets, tappet cuffs, all that good stuff, which is, yeah, like I said, the next video, which we will get in depth on explaining. Let's just go ahead and get into it, I guess. Take the wrench in. So yeah, you can see in there, there's part of the valve as well. So that all factors into how quickly your engine breathes whenever you get performance heads. So this part is the head, that's Stage 4, which we'll go over in depth in that video. But they actually will reshape the exhaust port, and then they'll reshape the intake ports as well. But that's getting really hyper detailed into it beyond a Stage 1. But just so you guys know, what exhaust you do pair with the engine does make a difference. All right guys, so a little bit of a change of plans. We're gonna cut it here because we're pretty much done with the Stage 1 install. However, since this is a customer's bike, our first focus is making sure that everything is done correctly and that there's no damage to the parts. And with finishes like these, you know, the black finish, once you basically install stuff and snug it down, it tends to mar a little bit. So we don't want to basically install this and then take it back off, because we want it to be aesthetically like just beautiful for the customer. So because of the way that Trask has designed this exhaust, there is no clamp that actually goes around here attaching the muffler to the header pipes. It's just the hardware.
It actually slip fits inside of here.
Yeah, so
which
it's
will
like
definitely damage that finish.
Yeah. And so like basically having the hardware hold it in, that makes sense as long as everything's snug down, but we don't want to put it in there and then remove it, and just because we don't want extra scratches or anything like that. We're thinking of the customer first here. So the stage one is pretty much done, but when you guys do hear it, you're going to be hearing it with a cam. That's one of the things I wanted to do, was to show you guys the after. So we had that before, and then we're going to show you guys the after as well. It is going to sound a little different with idle just because it's going to have a cam in it. So there's not really too much to show when it comes to installing the tuner part. So like we were saying earlier in the beginning of the video, there's 3 parts to a stage one. You've got the high flow air cleaner, which is installed. You've got the exhaust, which is the 2-to-1, and then the tuner is going to be, basically we're going to take the power vision that we've got, we're going to put a license on it, and we're going to install it. You basically remove this, you've got a data cable, and it's software essentially. So we're going to load that software onto the bike, and it's going to be a new map, which is going to adjust the air fuel ratio, the timing, bunch of other different parameters that's going to make the bike run even better. So not too much to show there, but that is basically what a stage one is. If you guys do have any questions though, as always, drop them down in the comments below. So let's go ahead and cut here, and we will resume with the demo of what it sounds like, but it'll have the cam in it as well. So that's the next video if you guys want to look up what is a stage 2. All right guys, everything is on and installed for the stage 1. So we've got the air cleaner, we've got the tuner on it, which once again we went with a Dynojet Power Vision tune, and we have the exhaust. So we're gonna go ahead, fire it up, and show you guys that before and after that we were talking about. Stock sound. And now this is after the full stage 1. Sounds much better. There you go, guys.
There you go. There's at least more than half of you guys that aren't subscribed.
Yep. Get this free content.
It's free.
Free to subscribe.
Like it. Click on it. Slap it with your greasy little finger.
You guys be sure to go give Chris a follow at Sick Wide Glide, 25-year master level technician. Go tell him how cool he is. If you guys do have any questions on the stage 1 and all that, be sure to drop down below. Just as a heads up, like I said earlier, there are different combinations that you can go with to do the stage 1. There's hundreds of different filter or air cleaners out there for it. There's lots of different tunes. We use Dynojet and Power Vision just because we see the best results with that, and there's lots of different exhaust options. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys have more of an understanding of that stage 1 process. If you guys are looking to book service, if you're looking to have this done, that is a service that we offer here at the Blockhead Garage. Go to blockheadgarage.com, fill out the form, let us know what you're wanting done, and we will be in touch. All right guys, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Catch you on the next one. Peace.